All right. I love how you guys do things in Bergen County. That is an awesome way to spend the Friday right there, jamming to some Metallica, getting us ready to roll for the weekend. All right, guys, we are in the final stretch. This is it. This is actually, believe it or not, could be this recording. And if you're here live, could be the last Ignite in this version that you will see because the new version, updated version is coming out. And this is power packed. The new version just has a different way. It's like 3 hours long. So there's an hour and a half of instruction and an hour and a half of working through the assignments. So I think that part's going to be great. And it's 20 sessions. So instead of 18, and we did 18 sessions in an hour. So we did this in about 18 hours over a 2-month period. You're going to have 3 hours over 20 sessions. So you're really going to be applying the stuff back into business. So I hope you'll check out the new version because the core base that you have in place from this version is really going to help you like just follow the material, get the material in place, take it into action. In fact, the more you go through it, the better. So today we're talking about contract to close. And again, this is the part on running your business now. And in running your business, today we're talking about everything we talked about kind of in some past ones, the negotiating contracts, but we're really talking about the transaction management, getting it to closing, vendor management, meaning the people that got to get their stuff done, compliance and risk management. So these are some pretty core pieces in the actual running of your business. And we're going to talk about how to systematize that. Again, this is a pretty high level conversation. But yet anybody can do this. It's so simple to do. That's why I'm just giving you this mastery high level conversation. There isn't like a kindergarten and a junior high and a high school and then a college that you have to graduate through. You can just start documenting your systems now. So one of the things I'll tell you on this part, when we're talking about negotiating contracts, vendor management, all that stuff, is that when anything goes wrong, any little hiccup with all the vendor management that's in there, the lender, the title company, the inspector, I mean, everything. If anything goes wrong, most people in the transaction will blame somebody else in the transaction. And even down to getting to closing, they can't close. You're the one there at closing with them. You're the last person they see, the person that's going to hand them the keys. And somebody in the chain didn't do their job right. Like what happened last week, the lender ordered the wrong appraisal, ordered a conventional appraiser. It's been an FHA buyer from day one, and they ordered a conventional appraisal. So it almost didn't close. It actually got delayed a few days. However, what we did because of the management that we went through, and even in that one, we were told right up to 2 days before closing, yeah, everything looks good. Got surprised with that, but we were able to be on top of it to flip it around, get the buyer approved conventional loan, and got the deal closed. But we're going to always be the blame. I mean, other real estate agents, there was a situation once where I was following up with an agent or a buyer that bought one of our listings, right? So I wasn't their agent. They had another agent. We know that 99% of agents don't stay in touch with people after it closes. So we send them some congratulation things. We kind of ease in there. And if we connect with them and they hadn't heard from their realtor, we just keep marketing to them and we take them over. They're called orphans. If you're new in real estate, we call them orphans. They got orphaned by their realtor. Hopefully you haven't orphaned anybody. And if you're new, don't orphan anybody. Stay in touch with them forever. So, because they're going to move again in 5 to 10 years, right? So anyway, we were mailing one, and this one, when we did our follow-up call, it's probably 2 weeks after. And he was like, you need to just take me off your mailing list. And I'm like, oh, I apologize. We were calling to see how everything was going to the house, make sure there were no surprises. And he said, well, my realtor told me that this deal almost didn't happen because of you. And I knew the deal. And it was because of his agent dropping the ball on some major stuff why it didn't happen. So I was like, well, I apologize if that's what you were told, sir. We actually have been doing this for 30 years. And and we did our part to make sure it got closed on time. So I'm not sure what you were told, but that was not the case. It was not on our side. We are actually the reason you're in the house. So I didn't throw the other agent under the bus. I didn't talk about them at all. I just said, make sure that they knew it wasn't us. And which, by the way, that person's coming off my list. If they're already like that, and that's the impression they've been thinking, they're probably not going to use me anyway. But they hadn't heard from their realtor either. So anyway, people will pass blame and you won't even know it sometimes. So just be ready for that little fun ride in real estate. All right. So on building buyer and seller timelines, guys, this is huge. Everything you do in real estate, when you take a contract to close, or you list a house until it sells, or you start working with the buyer until they find an offer, start keeping track of everything that you do. Write it down. You want to create a timeline for everything that you're doing right now and save yourself the headache that took me getting out of control, spinning out of control, losing listings, losing buyers because I didn't have a plan. And it's a real simple process. I threw in a slide here to show you an example of how you could start creating a system of everything that you do. And so step one here shows a notebook. It's kind of small, so you may not be able to see it, but I'll explain it to you. Step one is just a spiral notebook. And a spiral notebook means I'm just writing down everything that I do from the time I started working with a buyer until we get them all the way to closing. And the notebook is my capture tool. So I might be using that for several buyers for a while. You can start with a template. And if you have a checklist or something like that around, start putting the basic things in there. But what you're going to track is every communication, everything that you're going to send them, every time you're going to talk to them through the transaction, because those things are not on checklists. And when I say that, I mean, like, from the time you get a contract on a house until it closes, there's all this stuff that happens right at the front end, right? You guys have your inspections. We got to make sure the appraisal got ordered, the financing has all their stuff. And then it might not be closing for 60 days, for example. And nothing happens for like from the 2-week mark until the week or 2 weeks before closing. And all of a sudden, all this stuff has to happen again. It's like all these things. We got to check, make sure the appraisal came in right. We got to make sure that they got it back from underwriting. So it's like there's this gap in there. And when I would travel around the country and help agents, this is like a team that we're helping set up these systems. I would go around the country and help them set these systems up. There was no on purpose pick up the phone every 2 weeks and just check in to see how they're doing. You know, what do they need? Are they running it? They're stressing about moving, finding boxes, who's going to move them, who's going to pack up their furniture. There's all kinds of stuff happening in their world. And if we can plug into that and be that source to help them, then we're going to be able to have a better experience for them and stay clients. So in this particular case, what we did is we just documented everything in the transaction. And then if you look at it, there's some sticky notes that say step 2. Those sticky notes say, like, and that's an example of taking a new listing. So one of the steps in there is we deliver these brochures to the property, right? And step 3 means we check at realtor.com to make sure all the extra photos are on there and extra descriptions, because realtor.com already pulled our listing off of MLS and put it on their site. So I want to check and make sure that we're getting all the leads back that we can get. Everything that we do for that seller along the way is in our system. And in that, once we documented it and put it on a sticky note, you'll see in step 3, we created our perfect system from the time a contract comes in, what's everything that happens. And we put all those items on a sticky note and we put them in the perfect order. And then if you look at the close up, there's some scribble down in the corner. That's where I would write who on the team does that. Now, if you're an individual agent, it's you. It's all you, unless you have a third-party service. But there could be some steps in here that your inspector does, or that your lender does, or that your title company does. So it's good to go through this process anyway and see every single person that's part of your transaction is in your process somewhere. So you know who to call and who to check in with to see that it's getting done. And then the last step down at the bottom, what we did was we took that row of sticky notes, turned it on its side for step 1, step 2, step 3, all the way through. And then we filled in the column who on our team does that. We just put X's on there for who does whatever part of that process. So in this particular example, I know it's really small, but it says the Korn team buyer process. And if you look at the columns, about the third column over, there's nothing in that middle column. That's my name. And that's when we had a team of 9 people, and I was leveraged to where I had buyer specialists and I was the listing person. So I actually didn't have anything to do with the buyer process at all. I was completely out of it. But you'll see that the next column over has a whole bunch of X's in it. That was our buyer's agent. And you'll also see the first 2 columns have some X's in it. That was our admin team. So we create these systems and then put it into a process so that we can make sure everything goes smooth and that nothing slips through the cracks. That's what I call the perfect process. So this shows you kind of a buyer timeline for adding milestones, but we're actually adding everything we do in there, plus adding a couple phone calls where we actually touch base with them. Hey, it's been 2 weeks since your contract was accepted. How's everything going, right? Checking in with them. So executing the contract, working with the lender, getting the home inspection, getting their insurance on the property, doing the home warranty, and closing, right? Making sure that the title company has everything they need. So what you actually get to see here is that our buyer plan, that if this were closing in 45 days, so let's just say it's closing in 60 days, this campaign, we actually start at 15 days from now, if it's closing in 60 days. So it's a 45-day plan. But I could have a 60-day plan or a 30-day plan. I can shorten everything up. I could take this plan and copy it and condense it or stretch it out. But the reality is there's a lot of stuff that happens at the beginning and there's a lot of stuff that happens at the end. And you'll see on here, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. Well, 4 things happen the day we get a contract accepted. We send a copy of the contract to the loan officer. We send it to the title company, and we send the earnest money check. We send the earnest money check, or we get the earnest money check for the buyer. Sorry, man, that music sucked the last ounce of energy out of me or something. I don't know. And then there's a letter that goes out. Congratulations, your offer was accepted. Now, tomorrow, one day after the contract is accepted, we got to make sure that we send them an email. So in the mail is their letter, but we send them an email that says, congratulations, here's what to expect next. Then we got to schedule the inspections. We got to put it on our sale board so we know it's there. I mean, every step is in here. We have to order the inspection and send the lender the copy of the contract, which we should have done up at the top. Take it off MLS auto search. So every buyer goes on an auto search. So we have to take that off so that they don't keep getting new properties while we got them under contract. So we take them off the auto search so they're not getting any more properties. Add buyers new address information into our database so that when they actually move, we can just flip it, right? So it's just every detail is in there all the way through. You'll see down at day 4, we send them a letter. So they've gotten the letter that says, congratulations. 4 days later, they get another letter that says, here's all the things that can go wrong, but don't worry about it. We got it under control. You're working with a great team. Now, if you guys have questions, feel free to jump in, man. This is interaction. If you have questions about anything or want to ask about something or throw a scenario out on anything at all. This is a seller timeline. You accept the offer, you got to wait for the inspections to come in. Now, see, so we have a reminder that says the inspection period is ending. Has the inspection been done? But it doesn't mean I pick up the phone when I'm representing the seller and call the buyer agent and say, hey, are you going to do inspections or what? It's just alerting us that if we haven't gotten any inspections set up yet, there's probably only a couple days left in the inspection period. They may not do inspections, but I'm not going to remind them to go do it, right? Then we got to make sure the appraisal got ordered. So the appraisal, so it's not even our lender, it's the buyer's lender, but the seller is our client. We have to ensure that the transaction runs smooth. So we contact them and say, hey, we haven't heard from an appraiser yet. And that pops up after 5 days to make sure that the lender is ordering the appraisal, right? And then close. So again, these timelines, if you just start living with timelines, everything you do, and if you document this, so if you're new to real estate and you document this over the next 5 years, you will have all these timelines for everything that you do in the real estate transaction. If you've never done it before and you have checklists and you've been in business for a while, Try turning those into an actual timeline with dates attached to it. Happens 1 day after, 2 days after, 5 days after, and you create your perfect process, your standard for what you want it to be. Some people will challenge, well, a real estate transaction can take 60 days or can take 30 days. And some people might ask more questions than others. Let me tell you something. There isn't a successful business in the world or on the Fortune 500 list that they just let everything roll and happen as they happen. They grab control, they have timelines, and they stick to those. And if something unexpected comes up, a machine breaks down and shuts down their whole assembly line, then they have to make adjustments and fix things. But they don't just say, well, sometimes the machine works and sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes we'll get these cars out in 1 day, sometimes we'll get them out in 2 weeks. They don't do that. That's not how they operate. And real estate agents probably should not operate that way either. So I'll show you one of our timelines on our seller closing. So this is a seller. So we're representing the seller and the contract's closing in 45 days. A lot of the things are the same, but not completely. Seller, congratulations on the acceptance of your offer. So you're saying, congratulations, you got it under contract, right? That goes out right away. The assistant sends a copy of the contract to copy of the contract to either the lender. We changed the listing to backup in our system. We can actually mark an offer backup so we can keep marketing it for more offers. But there's a trigger on day 0 to do that because we have to do it within 1 day or we get fined. So that's on day 0. A copy of the contract goes out to the title company. Copy went to the lender. We send the email out. Congratulations, here's what to expect next. We'll be in touch with you to let you know when these things are happening. When does the inspection period end? So that comes up in 1 day, so that can be put on the calendar. So we're the seller, we're representing the seller, that we want to know what day that inspection period ends. Because on that day, if the agent has not set up inspections yet, I might call on that day towards the end of the day and just say, hey, I'm just curious, were you guys just going to pass on inspections? And then either they'll be, oh my God, I forgot. Well, I mean, they really can't technically, contractually cancel the contract based on any inspection items at that point. Or we can be nice and extend it. And I could just talk to my seller about it if that happens and see if they want to do that. But it definitely is going to put pressure on them to not ask for a lot of stuff, right? But add the co-op agent into our database so that we can stay in touch with the real estate agent. Guys, your relationship with the real estate agents that you do business with is probably the most valuable contact you could put in your database, because there's a greater chance you guys are going to cross paths again in the future before your past client buys and sells another house. I mean, you all are working in real estate in the same market. So when you create those relationships with real estate agents, send them a thank you card. It was great working with you, whatever that might be. Then when you're showing their properties and you're in multiple offer situations, you could have a little upper hand without even knowing it, just by being in touch with people. So we put the co-op agent in. Again, added to our sales board. Urgent, is the client happy? So that's actually a to-do to make sure that the transaction went smooth. If it's been smooth so far, there's an email that's going to go out in 3 days that says, hey, post your review of us on social media. If something glitchy was happening or it was a nasty thing, we'll just delete that email before it goes out and not get a nasty review. I'm not going to encourage nasty reviews. I want the good ones. And we're not telling them what to put in the review. We're just making sure that before we let that email go out, that we have a good shot of getting a good review. How many of you like that little trick, right? So it just kind of goes through the process, check on the resolution of unacceptable conditions from the inspections. That's sitting out there at about 2 weeks. We should have that back by then, right? So some of these, we might have to change one of these if they're doing, say, inspections in 1 day and our inspection period ends in 5 days. We might have to manually adjust a couple of these things. But what you're looking at right now is a campaign or action plan, or what we call SMART plans in Command. And all we do is we set up all these things with the delay of 1 day for the other things and a delay of 0 days on the things that are all done on 1 day, right? There's no delay, no delay, no delay. Those 5 things will pop up on your list, your task list that day. But we start that campaign so that it kicks out. And if it's closing in 30 days, we're actually backdating it or starting it today, and it will close in 30 days and it runs out 30 days. So we actually just put the date, and if it's 45 days and we're 60 days away, right, and our plan says 45 days, we'll start the plan in 15 days. You can't backdate in Command, I will tell you that. So you got to start from that date. You just might have to manually adjust a couple of things to get it all back on track. That's the downside for me and the way I do my systems. That part is not good. I like to be able to backdate. I like to be able to start anything on whatever date I want to start it on, because everything's time related for me. It's not action related. All right, so let's see if I got all my notes. Anybody have any questions about anything? I know this is kind of a little bit more detailed, but we're on our 18th hour, our 18th session of this stuff. So I'm hoping that you're starting to feel a little more comfortable with some of it. You saw a girl's name on a lot of those action items. That's my assistant. So her things gets pulled aside and she does them when they pop up on the list. All right, plot communication points. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. When you lay this stuff out on a timeline, are you checking in with the lender? Are you checking in with the inspector to make sure you've got the report back before the inspection period ends? Are you checking in with your client to see what's happening in their world? So that's where you definitely want to plot back in their phone calls and communication points with everyone involved in the transaction. Plot documents on your timeline. So you saw on our list where it was send the lender this copy of the client, send the client a full copy of the contract. When we're marketing a house. So again, our market now is shortage of homes, so things sell fast for multiple offers, but in a normal market that might be 45, 60 days, you could have a seller that's starting to get discouraged after 2 weeks of their house not being sold. Wait till this market starts turning and they don't get multiple offers anymore and their house sits on the market for 2 weeks. You better have a communication point in there to, like, we actually send them everything that's been marketed so far. We send them all the photos. We do a Google search and pull up all the websites that their house is on. We send them the brochure that we put in their house, but we put it all in a big marketing packet to show them all the things that we're doing to market their house so that they know they hired the right person. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys can hear me and see me.
Yeah. I'm kind of new. My sister is joining as well. We just joined a couple of days ago, so this is a lot, but I think this is all part of Command, correct?
Yeah, there are all of these things. There is so much stuff in Command that here's what you guys get to do. And I'm glad you're sharing that you're new. This is a lot. And this conversation we have at a pretty high level. So I'm glad you jumped in just to catch, one piece of it. All these sessions have been recorded, so you can go through the buyer process, the seller process, all that stuff. But when you decide, well, like right now, you don't know what the timeline is, right? So there will be checklists and things in there. And when you play in that and you download it and you look at it, you can go, ooh, I like that. I like that. I like that. And you get to make this your business and your timeline, because you might add something in there. I'll just use something silly, like, let's just say you're some crochet expert, right? And you make these little crochet little houses and you love doing it. You're going to add that as a step to say, make sure we start the crochet house or whatever, so that they have that at closing when they get it. I've seen people, have closing gifts and things like that, where maybe it's like a coffee cup with candy in it and balloons that gets delivered to work. So upon the acceptance of the offer, if I start the contract to close plan, once their offer is accepted, on day 0, it says order the cup of chocolates with balloons from the grocery store. And then they deliver it to their work. And then 2 days later, we make a call to work and we just say, hey, just checking in on you, because we want them to go, oh my gosh, I got the balloons, and you get to hear them talking about it. So there's even orchestrated events in here that you want to make your personal touch part of the process. So yeah, just enjoy the ride and listen to some ideas on things like that. And already what I was kind of talking about in our plan, sending out the letter that says, hey, here's the 99 things that can go wrong. So don't worry about not knowing where some of that stuff is. Just know if it's like something that you'll see, you're going to put that in your timeline.
Okay.
So
Thank
glad
you.
you're here.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
you
much.
bet. So some best practices for managing your deal. When I look at this, let me see, offer sent to realtor.com email. We have the process sheet. I'm just kind of looking at what my notes are here. All right, so in here where it says it's when you don't have a plan and what you need to know the next thing is, that's when you're vulnerable to things happening and somebody not doing their job throughout the transaction. You're going to find in a real estate transaction, there's way too many people involved. There's way too many hands that have to touch it before it gets to closing. And just one of those people needs to not do their job or not show up one day, or something can be delayed. And what's horrible, and like I said at the very beginning, is if something doesn't get done and it causes a delay and the closing gets pushed back and you don't find out about it till the day of closing, your clients are sitting in a moving truck with their stuff in the back and they can't get into their new house, and you're the person they're with right then. It's a horrible experience, and definitely not the way you would want somebody to remember that you do business, even though you might have done everything right, right? So that's another reason why these checkpoints, you want to make sure that you're updating them on the way, just saying, hey, just letting you know, we did check in with the lender and they told us everything looks good. They said it was golden. Well, we don't necessarily like it when they say golden. That just means they told us what we wanted to hear. But as far as we can tell, we don't see any red flags at this point. So there's just all those little checkpoints in there will definitely help you out. So best practices. So to make sure these things don't happen, where does the deal fall apart? In fact, you're at an advantage right now. Well, I wouldn't call it an advantage. You're in the same spot I was 20 years ago when I would track every single thing that went wrong and I made sure I plugged that hole. What's good for you, the advantage you have, is that you're now aware of this and you can start today. I sold houses for probably 5 or 10 years and had lots of headaches and lots of issues and growing pains and deals falling apart and trying to figure out what to do next because nobody talked to me about creating a timeline and keeping, all that organized. But I finally just knew I had to get control of it because I wanted control over it. So how do you keep the deal alive? Here's the thing. Whenever you have these processes in place and you're following your check marks, when something does blow up, what it really allows me to do is be focused and take care of the situation and find a solution faster than if I'm like a messy and I got the pile on my desk and I can't find papers and then something blows up and now that's just on top of it. And you're just like, I want to quit real estate. And believe me, I have actually just had a call with an agent the other day who was like, I had 5 closings this month, Brad, and I don't even know how I pulled it off. I'm still a mom. I had to do this. I had to do that. And it's like, you need to get these timelines in place so that the process isn't so harried all the time, right? Because what could be the best thing that could happen, especially if you're new in real estate, is if 10 people call you today and say, we all want to sell our house today. And we want pictures online and we want showings this weekend. What would your world look like if you had 10 people that want to list their house right now today? I don't even know where to start, right? And it's going to take you 2 weeks to just have a total disaster going on around you and nothing will get done right. They'll all be mad at you. So anyway, the quicker you can come up with these timelines and find these things, and you guys have such an advantage if you are newer, because there's so much stuff in command. The checklist for when you're going on a listing appointment, if somebody called you right now and said, I want to talk to you about selling my house, they've got a checklist for what you do for a listing appointment and what you need to do. So you can fake your way through it pretty good nowadays. We did not have that when I got in. In fact, we probably helped build some of those things, right? If you go into some of the old training manuals, you'll probably see my name on stuff. And all I did was learn from the other agents that were in the manual as well. But what tasks have deadlines? So that's where if a time frame on an inspection period is ending, getting that set on the calendar so you know when your inspection period's up so you don't miss it. I know, do you guys have termites? You have termites in New Jersey? You may or may not even know. When I was in Minnesota, it was so cold up there in the wintertime, we didn't really have termites. But then when I moved back to Kansas City, they do have termites. And I wouldn't get a termite inspection done because I didn't even know what a termite was. And I've been selling real estate for a few years. And I'd get to closing and they'd be like, hey, we don't have the termite report. And I'm like, what are these termite things you guys are talking about? Well, I learned that needs to be a step in my process. Any questions about anything else so far? I know
I think we're good.
Yeah. So how can you help manage the other people in the deal? I've already talked about that. Guys, this is your client and the experience they're having with you. And you're going to have a dozen other people involved that can make your experience that they're having with you a horrible experience. And again, it's going to be real easy to be like, well, they didn't do their job. They didn't do their job. They didn't do their job. Doesn't matter. The client's still having a horrible experience and they're going to have you attached to it. And it doesn't matter who did it. That's why it doesn't matter who they're blaming. You want to have those systems and checklists in place so that you can manage that. And I'm going to tell you, like it's a fluid business. Like you can't control all the crazy things you're about to experience that they would happen. But if you have everything else under control, then when these things happen, you can be on purpose to be able to work through them faster and get it resolved. So I don't know if there was anything else on here. Oh, well, because most agents don't do this. Most people do not have these classes. They don't have Ignite. They don't teach this timeline stuff and how to do all this stuff. Most people have a pretty bad real estate experience with most real estate agents. So think about what is your system like after let's just say you get a listing and it sells. What is your system and process for the buyer's experience of buying your listing that you were the agent at? Now, what you might not know is that they probably won't hear from their agent again after they close most of the time, like over 90% of the time. They probably won't hear from their agent again. So if you stay in touch with the agent or the buyer who bought your listing, right? So you didn't represent the buyer, somebody else did, but you call and check in 3 days after they move in and just say, hey, this is Brad. I'm the agent that had the house listed. Just want to check in, see how things are going in the new house. Hopefully you didn't have any surprises. As people would be like, why would you do that? That's just opening a can of worms. Well, if they're having a horrible experience in there, I'd rather deal with it, right? And we have actually had a situation where the lady moved in, had to make a claim on the warranty plan because her hot water heater was leaking when she moved in or the day after she got in. And so she had to pay her warranty. There's a warranty you can put on the house that's usually like around $400 or $500. I'm not sure what it is in your marketplace. Ours, that's what it is. It covers plumbing, electrical, appliances for the first year for the buyer, right? So if they had a warranty plan, which on our sellers, we actually offer that up front because our warranty plans here cover our seller from the time we list their house until it sells, and then it covers the buyer for a year. Now, most agents, you don't have to offer it up front. We do it because we already know that 99% of the time the buyers ask for the warranty plan, minus a situation or a market like we're in right now where people are writing cleaner offers because they're fighting over the houses. But in a normal market, they almost always ask for the warranty plan. So I just told my sellers, we're just going to offer it up front. You haven't paid for it yet, and you're covered between now and when it sells. So we just had a seller last week that had to have their dishwasher came out on the inspection. Something started going haywire on the dishwasher. So rather than pay for a new $700, $800 dishwasher, they paid $100 and got it fixed. And that warranty plan was in place before the buyer owned the house, and the warranty company covered the seller. So that's actually a step in our plan to make sure the warranty has been ordered, that within a day of us listing the house, in case something bad happens, our sellers are protected. Again, that's an optional item, so don't let that confuse you or anything, but just know that everybody in the transaction, even those orphans, when that warranty plan transfers and that lady made that claim for the hot water heater, she was not our client, but she had not heard from her. I haven't heard from my agent at all. They haven't called me back. And we're like, well, so you're out the deductible, right? It's $100. And she said, yeah. said, would you be all right if we just sent you like $100 Home Depot gift card? Could we do that for you? She's like, you would do that? You're not my real estate agent. It's like, nah, but we want you to enjoy the home. Guys, did you hear what I just said? That is called doubling down. That's an orphan who got orphaned, and we are now her realtor for life. And when she goes to sell that house in 5 or 10 years, we'll be the one that she calls. Your co-broker relationships. I talk about this a lot. The agent, when you saw on my list that said put the co-op agent in the database, because we want to put them on a follow-up plan, send them a note, thank them. We want to send them like pages out of the MREA book, send them a copy of the book, right? Send them a copy of Shift and just say, hey, thank you so much. It's been great working with you. I just want to share a great book that I thought was great for me just to understand the changing market. Send them a book, because in Keller Williams, if they love that experience, just think if you were getting that, right? That's like, okay, I need to check this out. And we have a profit sharing program that you can actually be paid profit from your owner of the market center that you're in. They're already slicing off profit every single month based on our KW formula to pay back to the agents for, if that co-op agent really liked what you did and they don't get that kind of service at their brokerage and they say, hey, I'm going to check out Keller Williams, and they write you down as their sponsor, you now would get a profit sharing check as that agent was producing sales and bringing in money to the market center. So co-op broker relationships, add those things in your system so that you are doing something to touch the other agent and stay in touch with them. I mean, and here's a more practical way that they're in our system. Right before closing, one of the steps is contact the co-op agent and make sure to tell the buyer not to put our sign in the garage. If you can have signs. What they do, man, they come in there, they move in, they take possession, which you got to go after possession to get the lockbox off the door, because for us, we let the agent get the key out of the lockbox, and then we go within a couple of days. So we tell the agent, hey, just tell your buyers, please, that we'll be there within the next few days. They can pull the sign out, or you can pull the sign out, set it on the side of the garage and put our lockbox on it. That way they don't have it banging around on their door and doing all that stuff. But that actually is a part of our system, because I cannot tell you how many times before that was a part of our system, how many of these people would put that dang sign in the garage and lock it up. Well, how can I pick up the sign if it's in your garage? Last thing I want to do is make 3 trips out there trying to coordinate with a buyer I haven't met and didn't represent to pick up my sign. Now, again, from the orphan example, I don't mind that, honestly, but I don't want to make 3 trips out there to get the sign in the lockbox, or my paying somebody. Even once you get a team and you have a sign runner and all that stuff, you're paying them real money for every dollar that they're working or wasting, right? So you can start closing those things up. All right, get repeat business and referrals. Like, what is the follow-up system, and where is the process where you're actually asking for referrals? So you can wow your clients with the KW app, right? Inside the KW app, you can have all the people that they would need to fix things, loose doorknobs, paint the house, all that kind of stuff. And you can plan your closing gift if you're going to do a closing gift at the end. I might even challenge you to say, hey, if I did such a good job for you, I know there's some people like buy people little trinkets here and there, but I have just found that if I really get you a good deal, that my clients buy me presents. And I'd say that, and I'd get presents from the client. They're like, he really did do a good job. Let's buy him a bottle of champagne. Anyway, I'm just teasing, but not really, right? So on that, you can put those vendors in there, and you have the KW app, and you're giving them some stuff so that they keep you in front of them for referral business. All right, here's an example of sending, or in our system, where we have a buyer who's been looking for a property, and it pops up and it says KW app, share Brad's Korn Team KW app through text message. So Kenneth probably just came into our system within a day or two ago, and my system tells me to make sure I send him the app. And so in my phone, I can just pull up my own name for my text message, and I can scroll through my own name until I find the text message that has the app attached to it with the link. And I just copy that. I go to Kenneth in my phone and I paste it and I send it to him and go, hey, here's that app I was talking about. So it's in our system. All right, command, transaction management, getting through those transactions. So here's the fortunate thing. Two fortunate things. The first fortunate thing is command is pretty detailed, and this is not a command class. So fortunate for you on a Friday afternoon, we're not going to spend an hour going through this and opening up an opportunity and opening up under contract and editing the stage, because you wouldn't remember any of it anyway. You're going to learn this stuff by doing, more so than spending too much time getting ready to do it. So just know that if you got an hour on the weekend or 2 hours on the weekend, your family's asleep and you're awake, you can go into command and get lost and just play around in there. Don't worry about trying to memorize everything at this point. There's too much stuff in there. But in there, you can actually customize your checklist. And that's showing you right here that you go under opportunities, go under select under contract and edit the stages. And you can start adding these timeline things that we've been talking about into your checklist, so that those will always be rolling out. That could, if you're newer in real estate, these timelines will be a living, breathing thing for you. It will change and it will mold and it will get better and better and better. You'll add some things in there, you'll tweak some things. So know that it's not a static thing and it's forever, that you want, and I'm going to challenge you here, you want every single step that you do in there. So if you ever find, if you have your checklist and you're doing stuff, but you're doing some things that you just do anyway and naturally, get those steps in there, because you're not always going to be you, maybe. And even if you don't think or know if you would ever start a team, you want every step in there so that if something would happen and you could not come into the office for a month or a week. Guys, I spent 5 months in a hospital room 5 hours from here with my business partner. So that's two of the main people on the business team that pays our bills. She was in a coma for 5 months, my wife, my business partner, and I was by her side for 5 months. And our business sold 97 homes while I was 3 hours away in another state, by the way. And we sold 97 homes with 2 people on our team. Now that could have been a temp agency. It could have been anything that if I was an individual agent, I mean, I may not be able to just disappear for 5 months and not make any sales. I'd be broke and I wouldn't be able to pay my car and my house and all that. So put every step in there, and so that you're following the checklist just like an employee would. And every time you do something that's not on there, you add it. So it's a living, breathing machine for you. And again, don't worry about trying to understand this all right now. Our hour is to open it up your mind to, oh my gosh, that is so cool. It does that. I need to figure out how to do that. I want to play with that one. I need to sit down and play with the timeline. And then here's the better part. You guys have me. Like, I've been here for, gosh, we might be going on our 2nd year. I'm here. Like, you could send me an email. You know how many people in class have just called and the phone rings and they're like, you really called me back? It's like, well, why wouldn't I? Right? So quarantinekc@gmail.com is my email. My cell phone is 816-215-3214. Now, I may not know your laws for your state on certain things, but when it comes to just transactions and management and things like this, heck yeah, I can help you. So here you'll see in command, I kind of gave you a picture screen of what it would look like to go into those contract stages. And you'll see this little hand thing, right? And that's like putting the deal together. And in there are different stages that you have: the escrow, the inspections, the appraisal, the finance, the contract to close. So I just wanted you to see some of those checklists and those processes that are in there. You were talking about command. The consumer guides are unbelievable. They like have all these things pre-printed that tells people how the process goes, selecting your guide builder, and you can add in the content you want. You could just add it all in there. You want to, and actually print out some of this stuff for yourself and lay it out and look at what it looks like and what you like and what you want to do. And there might be some stuff in there you're not going to do or that's not relevant to your market, but you can sit there and create this in like a weekend, just in like some off time. What you don't want to do is sit there and do this stuff during 9 to noon every day during the week when you should be finding business. You want to put yourself in a situation where you need to have this brochure because you're not sure what to do next. The way you do that is you have a buyer who says, hey, I'm ready to buy. Oh, I better figure out how to do that. And if you're sitting around playing with it all the time, then you're not talking to any buyers and you're not closing any deals, and you'll make a nice brochure that you don't even need. So the best way to create this is go through the process and document what you're doing, and then go in here and find those things inside this document and create your core plan of what you're offering people. So we actually got through that stuff pretty quick today. We're just about 10 minutes ahead of schedule. What questions do you guys have about any kind of systems or anything, or even just at this process? And actually what I'm going to do is roll in here to, I'll actually give you guys a couple of bonus things. This is something you do during Ignite, because we got the new Ignite coming out. And they say every single day while you're going through Ignite. And so if you're new and you're just catching us for the first time, we're at the end of an 18 session deal. But they say add 10 contacts to your database a day. Go find 10 names to put in your database, and then talk to 10 people a day, and then write 10 handwritten notes a day, and then go view 10 houses a week. And when you do this process as a newer agent, you're going to familiarize yourself with the market, and you're just talking to people. You don't even have to talk about real estate. So a lot of people are afraid to make 10 conversations because it's like, I'm still trying to figure out real estate. No, just call in. How you doing? I haven't talked to you in a while. What are you guys up to? You know, blah, blah. And they'll say, well, what are you up to? And you'll laugh a little bit and go, I'm doing some real estate now. But, you know, today was really, I was just calling to check in with you. And then write them a handwritten note. Go, so great talking to you. Glad everybody's doing well. That is actually lead generation, believe it or not. In the long run, you're going to build a really cool business with that. So these are just some of the activities that you'll actually do more of when you're going through the new Ignite, where we didn't really get to do everything in a 1 hour session, but we wanted everybody to be able to come through the whole process, right? Because this used to be a full day deal times 18 days. It was a commitment, and it's all great stuff. But it's like you'd lose people after about 3 or 4 days because it was just too much. So we condensed it down to an hour and said, repeat the process over, or go watch the videos over and over and over again, because that 1 hour just kind of gets the core stuff in your head. So there's a script book in there. If you're fairly new, you want to download from the resource site the Spark scripts and the Element scripts. There's all kinds of scripts in there on what to say when deals are coming up and things are happening in your business. It's always good to find a script partner too. If there's anybody new in the office that you're playing around with or practicing with, and you guys can practice some of those scripts on each other, that's always good. And then just kind of reading through your contracts and understanding things. So anyway, that for this, I want you guys to take this link that I'm putting in the comment section and fill this out. Let us know what you liked about today. I know some of it, if you're new, might seem kind of foreign, but I hope that you will click on that. And actually, when you click on it before we close out, it'll open up a separate tab. Just take a second to fill it in and say what you loved about today's class. That's what makes them want to keep me around, because they know you got some good information from it. Even if you're not sure everything we talked about, hopefully you grasped enough to get out of it. And you've got my cell phone and my email now if you have any other questions. So, and don't forget about the people in your office. Yes, you bet. I'm glad you came. And welcome to Keller Williams.
Thank you. Thank you. I have my sister as well with me, so we're gonna do a script practice together.
Awesome.
This is all so new, and we're just gonna try to work, like, just play around with command to get used to with it.
Yep. Well, and I'll challenge you both. So she's new too.
Yes, she joined with me as well.
Get a little pocket notebook. This is something I've said through all the classes. Get a little pocket flip notebook. And anytime somebody asks you a question about real estate that you don't know how to answer, write it down. Because there's a script in the script book that you can now answer that question.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a little
Yeah,
bonus one
thank-
for you. I hear it must be raining where you guys are too.
Yeah,
Yes,
New
it is
Jersey,
pouring.
it's raining.
We've got it too, man. I am so ready for summer. I'm done with
Me
this.
too.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Thank you. You
All
were
right,
good.
guys. Thank you so much for being here, and it was great spending some time with you.
Thank you. And we will check out the older videos as well.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
ones
You'll
that
have
you
the link
said.
to all the sessions so you can go through the different sessions, and they all kind of stand alone too. So you can watch them in whatever order.
Okay. Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
Oh, my pleasure.